now, and then you don't have to. And we can cut off the beginning. And I need, what was I gonna do? Oh, I need to be able to make me a co-host. And see where to host me, and can't I make myself a co-host?
I have no idea. It's funny, I actually just deleted that article on the computer like the other day.
In case someone finds it.
Well, I just thought like, oh, I keep that.
I don't see how to do that on here. What's that? I didn't realize I was off mute. Hi, Patty. Let's see who's here.
Hey,
Hi,
Heather.
Alicia. Hi, Kathleen. Welcome, everybody.
How's Randy feeling?
I am feeling good.
Well,
He's
I'm
mostly
happy.
back to normal.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad to hear that, Randy. I'm sorry you got
This might
COVID.
never be. Let's
I'm
not
just-
get carried away.
All right. Oh, it's not quite 11. We'll give it another 2 minutes, then we'll get going. For those of you that aren't used to being in the office a lot, there's coffee right over here. There's water. Actually, did the water get filled?
It did.
Okay, good.
Oh, I think, yeah, she did.
Okay.
Chair or two.
Cool. Hello, we need to get you another chair. Here, why don't you take this one and I will go get one of those office ones below.
I am
Here
feeling
you go.
good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Why do you-
How's that? You can see over my big head. It's okay.
Okay, big chair. Let's see. Sure, I'm nosy. I can see what these are. Randy's been talk all about those.
Okay.
Good to you.
Looks nice. PG.
Was it good weather about the temperature?
Yeah, it was actually didn't get that hot. Then we got I had like 25.
Yes, that's nice.
It was, but there's a couple overcast days.
Uh-huh. Wasn't there another wedding when you guys were there?
My buddy Josh got married in Oahu.
Yeah,
I was
Well, I
wedding
was-
was incredible, but like maybe they didn't get the memo on the whole beach wedding thing because everyone was in like full black tuxedos. You know, like it was nothing said, I'm on the beach, except for physically we were on the beach. So,
Oh, that's funny.
yeah, it was really funny. Everyone was in full suits and me and like maybe 5 other guys were like in beach wedding attire.
Each one.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, you guys ready to get started? Let me make sure that I've got the mute off here so everybody can hear me. Yes. Good. Okay. What's that? I recorded, I hit record very early because I always forget that. So thank you guys for coming today. Today is part 4 of the Foundations course. We're going to be doing every quarter, 6 weeks, or maybe a little more, depending on how this first one goes, covering everything you need to know about starting your business and really setting your business up with a good foundation. Today, we are going to go over presenting an offer. And I'm going to go over that just really quickly, a few little things and a checklist that I have. And I'll share with you. And then Randy is gonna go over pre-listing packet, something that you can provide before you go do a listing appointment to win the listing before you even arrive, or at least get a lot of the questions answered that you come up typically at a listing appointment. And then he's gonna go over listing presentation, and it's a lot. And he's gonna go over reviewing offers when you receive them on a listing, and some ways to process that, especially if you're getting multiple offers. I really believe it's super helpful to have systems in place for any time. That's a funny expression, Parmita. Is it your coffee bad? She's all, oh.
It was
sorry.
like I put enough milk in them.
Oh, okay, all right, it's just the coffee, good. It's really helpful to have systems in place because you are gonna write, and you do write a ton of offers, right? You take listing, these are things you do over and over. So the more you can kind of set up from the beginning a system of how you wanna handle those things, the easier it's gonna be, and the more you're gonna save yourself time, and you're not gonna miss things, right? There's so many little pieces to know. Hi, I'm so sorry. No worries. Come on in. You might grab a chair here and bring it up. Or you know what, why don't you take this one and I'll bring on what I've done, because I'm not even sitting down right now. I'm so sorry. No worries, no worries. So I have a little checklist here that I use. I'll share it with you guys, and it's all the steps that you may or may not want to take when you are writing an offer, when you're presenting an offer to a seller's agent. There may be other things that you do. If there are, great, let's add them in, right? Or there's other things, some of these things may not be something that you want to incorporate. I find them all really valuable and really helps me get my buyer's offers accepted. So the first thing before I even write an offer is like reach out to the lender, obviously, and make sure my client is fully approved. Now, because of the changing interest rates, I'm gonna be checking in with the lender regularly to make sure they're still approved at whatever price point they've been searching, right? I had somebody that was looking at $1.5 million, and now they're like, hey, that monthly payment, not comfortable anymore. Our max is $1.2 million. So you wanna know that before they fall in love with the house, right? So when I'm gonna write an offer, the first thing I wanna do is call a lender, make sure that they are still approved at that price, ask for a pre-approval letter that's specific to the price and the property. Instead of a general one, it's much more powerful to give a pre-approval letter that specifically got that property and the price that they're gonna offer. You don't want a pre-approval letter saying you're approved for $1.5 million and they're offering $990, right? So it's just not gonna look as powerful. I put the link to this document in the chat. So if you guys, especially online, if you can't see this and you want to take a look at it, go ahead and take a look there. I also asked the lender to call the listing agent and talk up the client, right? Talk up the buyer. They're really well approved. You know, what their strengths are. And let's see. I think there's somebody online maybe that needs to mute. If you guys could just check and make sure you're muted, that'd be great. Even more important than calling your lender, and I gotta get this over here, is
We were walking
calling
downtown,
the
we were driving
listing agent.
downtown, and then charge and walk from there.
Greg.
Is
Yep,
that
I drove
Greg?
to the mall.
Somebody needs to mute. Sorry, I'm so distractible. I'm not as distractible as Randy though.
Boy, that wasn't nice.
Ah! Let's see, I'm trying to see who I
Hush
can.
up, Marita.
I'm taking my rule book from Parmita.
No,
Okay.
that's the book you don't take.
So I know Randy also really loves to talk about this. Maybe he'll pitch in a little bit, but it's super valuable to call the listing agent before you write an offer. I mean, even before my clients are considering writing an offer, I call to find out what I can about the property. But once I know they want to write an offer, call the agent, ask questions. What's important to the seller? Do they care about the length of escrow? Do they need a rent back? What else could be included in an offer that's going to make the seller happy, right? What do they want? Do they want really short inspections, or do they know, oh, we've got no inspections, so we're okay with longer? So find out what's gonna make them happy. Then I talk to the client, and what I have here is, this is my own personal little worksheet of all the things that I'm gonna make sure I talk to my client about. Some of these, if you've already written 4 or 5 offers, you know, right? You know their name. But how do they want it legally on the document so that later it doesn't have to be changed? If you don't have both parties' emails, right? A lot of times you've been dealing with one person, you need to get the other person's email. All the different pieces that you want to talk about so you can include it in the offer. They're all right here on that worksheet. I have a little list here of the things that you want to send for buyer signature. I find people often forget the disclosure cover letter or the disclosures. Just include that in your signature package, right? And then here is the things that you're going to include with the offer: a pre-approval letter, proof of funds. And I really like to put a nice cover letter in the body of the email when I send over an offer. And I can show you, I'll show you the sample of that below. I like to highlight the best points of my offer right there in the body of an email. So without even opening the actual contract, they can see, oh, it's a cash offer, right? I'm super excited. I want to make sure I really look at this closely. And then once I've sent the offer, call the agent again. Tell them you've sent an offer. Mention, again, highlight your buyer. They're really well qualified. They love the house, whatever it is. Let them know you're available for any questions, and ask that they let you know that they've received the document, right? Wouldn't the worst thing be if they never see your offer, right? Like, you spend all this time, your client loves the house, and
Goes to junk mail.
it goes to junk mail, right? Yeah. So then in here, it's just a sample of the way I write up a cover letter in the body of an email. Thank you for the opportunity. And then I just put bullet points. Here's the highlights, right? If the purchase price is low, I don't include that. Right? I only include things here that are like, yay, this is a great offer. So that's what I put in there. That's really everything that I do when I'm preparing, and I want to encourage you. Anybody have anything else that they do that helps get their offer other than the terms and the contract? But presenting an offer, anybody have anything else that you do that really works?
Well, you kind of brought some of that up when you really need to bond with that listing agent. You really need to take the time, call them, and you need to ask questions. You need to ask them, what is your client looking for? What's good for them? Is that a rent back? Do they want to close early and maybe get a free rent back out of the thing, or what? So that initial conversation is so important. And again, like Heather mentioned, and we just heard about a suit in our risk management class about an agent that sent an offer after the period of the time that was due, and they accepted something else, and that buyer ended up coming back and suing. So it's important that if you write an offer, call the agent up. And I can't tell you how many times I have gotten offers and I didn't know if the person showed the property. They never had a conversation with me, and there's an offer in your box, and you're like, well, that's really representing your client. Yeah. So
Right.
remember, it's the consumer that we're working for.
Yeah. And when you call, if they won't tell you much, pull teeth a little, right? I've had people just repeat over and over, just send your highest and best offer. Just send the highest and best offer. But what's best for your client? Do they want a 10-day escrow? Or can they not move out that quickly? It's try to get some details.
And ask for a range. There's some agents that feel that the truth is, it is not unethical to give somebody what the value or what you have the offers for. It is not unethical to be able to give a range of, hey, you know what? I'm sitting on an $800,000 offer. The property's at $750,000. Why do I want to waste an agent's time if their client can't get into that price range up front and get their clients excited about a property? The agents never called me. They send me an offer that's, $50,000 lower than what I've got here. Why waste their time?
Yeah.
Hey, I've got offers between $850,000 and $890,000. Just say it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Any questions about presenting offers. This was quick. I mainly want to give you guys this checklist so you have that to kind of roll through. Yeah, Joe.
That was my question. How are we gonna get this checklist?
So I sent it in the chat and I can send it to you directly as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
Anybody else want it?
Yes.
everybody wants it? Yeah. Okay, I'll just send it out. I'm always happy, yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it gonna be in a Google Doc?
I'll do it a link
Okay.
like I did. I do all my stuff in Google Docs and some people, Joe and Randy, couldn't access them.
I'm like, I can't open this.
If you click the link and then at the top hit file, you can print it and save it as a PDF.
Oh,
There you go.
that's nice.
I don't know, they couldn't even seem to open it, but thank you. I always love tips like that. So, okay. Yes.
Where do we stand with the buyer writing a letter to the seller? Is that a no-no or is that okay again?
It's mostly, my understanding is it's mostly on the seller side, right? That if they want to review them or not.
Okay.
But it's very tricky if you are gonna have your buyer write a letter, there should be no mention of any fair housing protected classes in there. So they shouldn't mention that they have a family, that they're any of them. So it's hard, it's very hard. But if they want to just talk about how much they love the property,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, what's your feeling, Randy?
So again, we have the fair housing issues with writing letters. I encourage my clients to not look at letters, to be honest with you. And I say, let's look at this as a business.
Uh-huh.
This is a business, and what's important is the best and highest, not somebody that's reading a really great letter. What we really want is a great offer.
Yeah.
So I'm a little different that way. I have clients that it is really important to them who bought their house, so those letters, are important. But our attorneys are against it. The DRE is against it. So,
Yeah. What if your
but
buyer
we're
just
still getting
really
it.
wants to write a letter?
We can send it, but again, remember that could be fair housing. We did have an issue last year with one of our agents that their client really didn't want, because their ethnic background, to have that disclosed to a seller. And the listing agent was very, very aggressive about my client wants a letter. I happen to have known the listing agent. I gave her a call and said, hey, this is the situation. They don't feel comfortable. And, but what I think you really need to focus on is they wrote a great offer. I mean, if there's any better offer in your multiple offer situation than this, I really think you as an agent needs to focus on that with your client and not on the letter. These people want the house. They've shown that they wanted the house by the offer that they've written. We were able to get that offer accepted over the ones that did letters, but I did have to make that call because the agent was super assertive about it. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's
really a catch-22 there.
yeah. Okay. Any other questions on offer presentation? We can dive into this for like 10 more hours,
I
but
would say make sure you read the private remarks.
the private,
So many agents
Oh, yes.
send in their offers and they've clearly paid no attention towards them.
yes, yes. I
Love the
actually have it
MLS.
here too. Not only, I love the private remarks. I didn't even think about that, but I have it here. Things that you're gonna include or exclude in the sale, confirm what's in the MLS, right? Don't ask for the fridge if they told you they're not gonna leave the fridge, unless you really want them to have to counter you, right? Your best thing when you present an offer is it's so clean and perfect that they don't need to even counter you. So that's, thank you. I love that. The private remarks often says how long, if they need a rent back, it has a lot of those details.
I would love to share Parmita's text to me when she has agents call her about listings that haven't read the listing. And, but I don't think it's appropriate for a call.
No.
But there's some really
Recorded.
colorful stuff there in her remarks. The other thing as a listing agent, it's really important that you get your seller to initial the listing of what is included. Because I'll tell you, there's been more than one agent that I've known in my lifetime that have bought a refrigerator freezer, or they have bought a washer and dryer, or in one case, an air conditioning system, because they put it
Oh
in the
my gosh.
listing that it was included.
Yeah.
So really, really be on top of that.
Yeah, that's, yeah, when you're inputting your listing into the MLS, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm gonna hand it over to Randy. Do you want to come up here since
You're
everyone's sort of facing this direction?
Come up there.
All right, good. That works out great.
We'll see how we can do this with this little camera. Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I have to start off with a little bit more energy maybe. And Heather, I want to commend you. You put your sneakers on today, man, and you were moving the floor. That was awesome. That was awesome. You know, I've always been what's called a two-part listing agent. There's the first time when I get that phone call, whether it's a referral or somebody saw an ad that I used to do or something like that and calls me to make that appointment, I want to make sure that I build rapport. And part of building rapport, and I always tell people, because I'll guarantee some of you new agents and you experienced agents knows that this happens on a regular basis. Somebody calls you and they want you right now to give them the price of what their property's worth. And, you know, the first thing out of my mouth is, you know what, until I see your home and I walk through it, I can't really give you a price. You know, I first need to see it. And, you know, they'll hit, well, Zillow says it's worth that. And I like to tell people that Zillow nationwide is about 29% off on their values. And that's something that we all have to deal with and work with. If you have a cookie cutter house and there's 10 houses that are exactly the same style that are sold in a neighborhood, you know, you can get pretty close. But a lot of us deal with rural properties. And we all know that we can have a mansion next to a two-bedroom teardown, you know? So you have to see that, have to see the condition of the property, have to see if there was upgrades. And then when you do your market analysis, you have to make those adjustments. So my first thing that I do is I get that appointment, I go to the house, and I bring a pre-listing packet. I always look in a house and I try to look at something that I can gain rapport with that client, whether it's golf clubs or crochet or whatever is there. I try to connect to that individual and have something in common. My goal with the pre-listing package is to be an objection handling document. So I push on the client as I'm walking through. I don't give this to them up front. I walk through the home, kind of make mental notes. What could you do in regards to fixing up your property to make it more valuable for sale? How important it is and how those consumers, you know, I used to think when I first bought my home that everybody wanted what I wanted is cosmetic fixers. That's not what they want. The millennial market that we're seeing right now, the boomer market, they want houses complete. Very few of them want to jump in and have to paint and do that work. So that's an objection we have to work with that seller that we meet to think about what you need to do to prep your home for sale. So I walk through, I take a look at the property, get some ideas, and then I say, what I want you to do, and I try to set up a second appointment right then to go back and give the listing presentation. So I go, I really want you to take some time and look at the pre-listing packet. Haley and I worked on designing this a few years ago. We're going to upgrade it. We've been talking as soon as Haley's got some time. I want to do more visuals because the average American's attention span is about 3 seconds. Heather, don't say anything about mine. So we want them to visually see those things and go forward. So I've made copies here, or I should say Haley or somebody made copies for you if you want to do it. And the pre-listing appointment, set a price and a time frame. What do you think is the biggest objection that a seller has when you're in your home and they're waiting for you to come and tell them the value of their property? What's the biggest objection? Don't be shy.
That the seller has?
That the seller has. What's in their mind?
They would know.
$1,000.
Their
Price of
house is
buy-
worth
Yeah.
Money.
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 money. Hey, Kathy. I'm COVID-free now, so I'm back.
Good
So-
to know, Randy. Good to know.
So it's price. Sellers think their property is worth here, and buyers think it's worth here, and somewhere in the middle is probably actual value. Now, there are realistic sellers out there that know and come up with price. And during the time I'm doing that walkthrough, I'll ask them, so tell me, what do you think your house is worth? And try to see if they give me, and then I right away know, are they realistic or are they not? So when we're going through this, developing a market strategy, listing prepared and brought to market, offers presented and negotiated begin, buyers do their due diligence, tracking removal of contingencies, transactions, and closed escrows. So a lot of this you're going to see in the listing presentation too, but it doubles up. Sometimes on the listing presentation, it's a pretty quick thing with me. I might just give them comps, give them price, and try to close the listing. But you have to do each person differently. You get a feel for that. So excuse me there. I can do that. So first page, listing process. We go through the listing process, but what's important to me is to review the comparative market analysis, establish the initial listing price. So right away in that first paragraph, I want that consumer to start thinking about pricing of their property. I want that in their head and what that means. Selling process, we go the initial consultation, home preparation, implement the marketing plan, review offers, and reach agreement with buyer, complete settlement process. So I give them just an outline. Remember, I'm not reviewing this with them. This is something that I want them to sit and think about the process. And I can guarantee most companies aren't leaving something at that initial meeting and how important it is, because it puts you a step above when you have a professional presentation that's left and you're strictly just talking to them about the initial price. Next piece. Remember, the pre-listing package is about objection handling without you having to do that with that consumer. All right. We want them to think about what they need to do to help us sell. It's not all on us, because any experienced agent knows it's how much we can get those sellers to do on their property, clean up their property so that it shows well, make it easy to show when those buyers are coming and looking at it. Don't select certain time frames. Makes it really tough to sell a property and not get the maximum amount of people through it. So curb appeal, second page, staging and interior condition. Be ready to show. These are things that we want those sellers, before we list this property, to be prepared and help us make them get a better, quicker sale. Market strategies that result in sales. Creating a powerful market impact. We want them thinking, what does that mean? What is my agent going to be doing for me? Empowering the real estate community. One of the things that I think is important, and I say this to all agents and especially new agents, when I started in the business, I went on every tour every week. And, when I brought an offer to an agent, those agents knew who I was, because I was there, I was visible, I was in front of them on a regular basis. So when that offer came in, you felt comfortable. We're losing a lot of that in this industry because agents are doing everything online. Agents are, sending DocuSigns. They don't pick up the phone. They don't start a conversation, as Heather was talking earlier, with that other agent to build rapport. Those other agents are as important as our clients in regards to a multi-offer situation, when you present an offer. Developing the power of online marketing, maximizing neighborhood marketing. What does that mean? Again, we break that down. I'm not going to read everything. I want you guys that are here to take this book. Those of you who are not, if you email me, we will get you a copy of the pre-listing presentation for you. Remember, we have a full marketing team here at Better Homes and Gardens, which a lot of companies do not. So if you plan ahead of time, Our marketing team can customize this stuff for you. One of the things that should be in here is a little statement about who you are. And it doesn't matter if you've been in real estate a day or you've been in 36 years like me. It's what can you do for the consumer? So when you write that paragraph, and make it simple, when you write that paragraph, your background, whatever industry you've been, has a value to that consumer. So whether it's your customer service, your knowledge of customer service, your marketing abilities, your blogging abilities, any of those things, think that anything you write, it's about the consumer. Okay, I can't reiterate that enough. There are so many companies out there right now that are not about the consumer. We have forgot the consumer. Zillow jumped into the real estate market and started flipping homes. Guess what happened to Zillow? It crashed and burned because we're forgetting what's important is this interaction. If we're not going to interact with our clients, with people, we're not going to stay in this industry. Because if they can do everything digitally and do it online, they don't need us. So remember, you're constantly building your value proposition to those consumers. So responsive follow-up and feedback. Some great stuff that's important is always when you're talking to that consumer about getting them listing the home, is that you have to also be conscious and you have to make an effort to go to those agents that have showed the property and get information. Nothing better than if you have an overpriced listing is that you've gotten 10 agents that have shown the property that have answered you and said, hey, love the property, it's overpriced. Because when you bring that information to your seller, they're not centering at, oh, you're just not doing your job. You think my property's overpriced. Utilize the other agents that go out there and see these properties and give that feedback on a regular basis to your client. So this is important. Again, remember, this is objective handling. These are things that you explain when you're in your listing presentation.
That feedback too, sometimes you'll get feedback of something you didn't realize is an issue that you can correct, right? If it's
He's not in the office.
something about I don't have a good example, but I've had before, like somebody found the smoke smell really strong. So we did everything we could to make it less, and so there might be other things as well, other than price, that you can use to help improve the property.
We've had things where I've had things where a client, I couldn't get him to take his deer handlers off, and I mean, I know you have enough dead Bambis in here to, scare anybody, from showing the property. And when I got feedback about, Randy, your client kills Bambi, I could go back to him and the wife said, I told you so, I told you so. And the antlers came down. It's funny the things that happen though, that again, what Heather said is that you don't see him as an objection to that consumer, but it hits us, and you can make those changes. There's been people that I've known, and including myself, that we've taken a property off the market and we go, we try to convince that this bright blue color was, that the client, no, I love that, I picked this color. And it's like, you try to tell them that, well, we need to be open to all the consumers, not just you. And after some feedback, we're able to shut the listing down, paint the walls, say blue's been removed, and the property sells. It's those minor things can make a big difference. Our next thing is something that you don't have with any other company. So Better Homes and Gardens magazine here, that we have a 97% approval rating with the consumers out there, has an ad for Better Homes and Gardens on a monthly basis that goes into 43 million American homes. Some of our top producers I learned at the Blast Fusion are actually bringing the magazine in and leaving it at the table for that customer. So they'll do that and basically say, there's 43 million Americans, no matter where they're looking for property, they're going to hit this and find an agent where your home is listed and potentially bring a buyer to you. Is that a value to you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller? I think it's an easy sell to tell people that you have this kind of power behind you in regards to what consumers are looking at. And it's uniquely ours. The other thing that's really important to talk about is how much of a consumer-based company we are with Meredith. You know, we really are studying and working with that consumer on a regular basis. That's what Meredith does. I call them the CIA of marketing, because they've got information on over 200 million Americans and what they're buying, what they're looking for. And now that we've hooked up to Dotdash, which is the equivalent to Meredith in the digital field, that's a powerful thing.
What's Meredith?
Meredith owns Better Homes and Gardens, Eating Well, and that is the main company that owns Better Homes and Gardens. And like I said, I don't know how many magazines, but there's a phenomenal amount. But Meredith has gathered information over its 100 years of being in business on Americans and their buying trends. That's why if we have things like Pinpoint, we can actually pinpoint different buyers. And we'll go more into that on the listing presentation. But there's a real value to that to the consumer. It's the second largest licensed brand, I believe, in the world, second to Disney. So, you know, Disney is number one. Meredith and Better Homes and Gardens is number two as far as licensing. What does that mean? And again, the whole thing is important. That what does that mean to the consumer? That means buyers and sellers are coming to Better Homes and Gardens and they're looking for listings. They're looking for information. They're looking for the blogs. They're looking for, you know, things that you're doing on Facebook, Google, or whatever. So it's an important thing to bring up. But again, it's about showing that consumer the value of that. The marketing impact. Again, numerous times in our pre-listing package, we're talking about pricing. So again, we get to this page again, it's competitive pricing. Together, we will establish a pricing strategy for your home that will best catch the attention of prospective buyers. We also go over here as far as quality photography and property preparation. Again, we want that. Quality photography. It still amazes me how many people take pictures of toilets when they take a picture of a bathroom. And you're going, okay, it's white, it's porcelain. Okay, I get it. But is that something that the consumers really want to look at? No. Spend the money and have a professional photographer photograph the property. You guys make a lot of money, and part of that you need to spend on marketing. And quality photography is part of that.
And if you take a picture of yourself, make sure you're not in the reflection.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, Parmita.
There's a lot of bad pictures out there.
Oh.
There's a lot of bad pictures out there.
Shot for some really expensive properties too. I've been shocked.
And how about all the dirty clothes on the floor too in those pictures?
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
I was
Yeah.
shocked the other day.
Yeah. A beer on the countertop, you know, and you're like, are you serious? You know, I actually went for a listing off of Crest Drive, and he got referred to me. He had 4 different people do analysis, and in that analysis, I intentionally used the competition in the neighborhood that had their listings, and I used their photos for multiple. And then I showed our market analysis with pictures that we had of his house, of another property that we sold, and he looked through it and he goes, wow, this is a property you did? And it's like, yeah. He goes, look at, why do they have 5 pictures of this one section in there? You know, the consumer wants to see 12 or more. Typically, it's good to have about 20 to 24 pictures online. We find that that's the buyers really want to be able to digitally look at that. With MoxieWorks and the new stuff that we have that's coming out, all your listings are going to have a video attachment to it. So that's going to really help because people now want to move through the properties. A lot of us have done that for years, but it's now going to be automatic, which is great. It's good stuff. But photos, and again, if you know you're being interviewed and they've interviewed somebody that just sold a home, take a look at their pictures. I mean, some of them, I can't believe they're not incredibly, you got an $800,000. I don't care if you have a $300,000 home, spend the money and have quality photos done, because that's a presentation of not only you, but that's a presentation of that seller. And you need to push on that's what you give as a service. Again, things considering pricing your home. So we have a whole page here, again, about pricing. It's comparable sales data, the risk of overpricing, which happens to a lot of agents, which is happening now. We're seeing a lot of price reductions happening because people, the sellers keep thinking that the market's this way, this way, this way. And, it's not. It's starting to become more of a normal market, I would say. With interest rates popping up, I'm not saying it's a depressed market by any means. There's still a lot of people that are wanting to buy property, but with 2% increase in interest rate, that means that consumer's lost $100,000 of purchasability. So people in that lower price range are going to have more of a hard time. Now, there's some people that think, well, I'm just going to wait because eventually interest rates going higher are going to drive property values lower. I don't know that I believe that to be true in this market. I believe that there's such a lack of inventory. When I was in New York and Inman into classes that I went to, everybody across the nation has the same problem. There's a lack of inventory for the buyers. But buyers, now that interest rates are up, don't want to overpay. So they're looking at what that initial price is for that property and how important it is. So again, this page, when your home is priced too high, your home is beyond the search of criteria. So you pull yourself out of a certain search range, price range, fewer prospects, fewer brokers, fewer buyers. We have an issue right now with an agent that I've helped that's spent a fortune on this listing. It's got a vineyard attached to it. It's $1.2 million. It's in Humboldt County. And, she's come to me, what more can I do? What more can I do? And I said, exactly what I told you to do 60 days ago. You're priced too high. You've marketed it everywhere. You've done an incredible job, but the people that are there aren't writing offers and everything around there. And actually the interesting thing is that particular part in Humboldt County was an area that when growers were buying, they focused on buying in that area and drove the prices insanely. Challenges, none of them are making money anymore. A lot of them are trying to sell those properties and they're worth about half of what they paid for them. But you have to think in certain marketplaces, what happened in that area to make it spike? And is that spike, was that, sustainable? And in this case, that area, Southern Humboldt, it's shown it's not sustainable. And you bottom line have to adjust your price accordingly. So sometimes you have to look at geographic areas and see if there's been changes. Again, we have another page that talks about the dangers of overpricing. I think a lot of the agents that work for us, know my attitude is that I always try to price the property about 1% below, 1 to 3% below the latest comp. It's been very successful. I can tell you that in a lot of the listings that I've had have been the listings that have sold more in a neighborhood than any other listing. I can verify that a few times. And it's because we price aggressively. We also market for a week. So I'm not one that puts it on the market and just lets it sit. I want to do my job, and that's to market the property and get the highest and best. And it's not always the highest price, it's the best offer for the client. Sometimes it's the terms. So that's the discussions that you have to have. So again, we're in price. And then I've added this to it because a lot of people don't understand. Now I've done this at 6%. There's a lot of commissions are 5%. We're seeing it bounce from 5 to 6%. Up north, we're seeing more 6% listings on properties. Down here, because the prices have gone up, we're seeing a lot of 5% properties. But I had this written at 6.
As you should.
And it shows that a lot of the consumers think that you get all that 6% money. And this is basically showing, hey, half of it goes to a buyer's agent, half goes to seller. The company gets something. Now, we didn't put in taxes and all of that, but that is something that is a reality for selling a home. Is that we don't just get this money and we pocket it. There's advertising dollars that have gone into our commission that we've spent, the professional photography. There's photographs. There's any other additional ads that you might have done that the company hasn't done. Those things are all things that we have to concern ourselves with.
I like this. It's like simple and to the point.
Simple and to the point.
And
So,
can I say something
yeah.
too? Like I have my own listing. I find it so odd that when an agent has their own property listed, they'll only give 2.5% to the buyer's agent. I think it should be 3% every time you sell your own house.
You have to think of what you're worth,
I lost
right?
my-
And what you think you're worth.
I
Why
think
wouldn't you give it to
3%.
somebody else?
Yeah.
Yes, I like that. I like that. The last thing is something else that I added in the pre-listing package because, we always get in this conversation about disclosures. I had a lengthy conversation about disclosures yesterday at Main Tree Properties in Eureka at our Monday morning sales meeting. And after Bill Jensen and all the things that scared the hell out of me as an owner, I swear, I go way back, and Vicki Nadorf and I go back since 1999. And there's not a time that I talk to Vicki that there's something that just goes, why did I ever buy a real estate company? I mean, if you can sue for these things, I've got a mediation that's been going on for 2.5 years. And I finally, our E&O cover, it's a total BS thing. Our agent has probably one of the best files, and that's Herb Heil. I don't know if he's on today, but Herb has one of the best files of any agent I've ever seen. Apparently he worked for the NSA, so his files are detailed. Told the agent you should really get your own inspections and not depend on the inspections that we got on the listing. It's a perfect file. The buyer is a licensed real estate agent that hangs their license at Coldwell Banker. Also, the agent she used works at Coldwell Banker, and I could not get our E&O coverage to countersue Coldwell Banker because I said, we gave them the information. This is where the ball got dropped. And we finally got a litigator because they're actually going to court on this. And she gutted the whole house. She didn't let us look at it until she ripped out all the sheetrock, all the floorings. It's claiming a flood, claiming termite issues, which is really the pest control company's problem. But she gutted it. And I said, this is a remodel. We shouldn't be involved. She's gone through 3 attorneys. Finally, the litigating attorney agreed with me and countersued the other company because I know they need to be responsible here. But we've spent 10 grand to get to this point on something that we shouldn't even be involved in. So there's a lot of frivolous lawsuits. You just have to make a claim and you have to always think about that. So getting your clients prepared. And again, after I literally added this after Bill's meeting the other day, is that I added this to the pre-listing. It's basically seller's advisory. So it's breaking down for the sellers the things that they need to think about before you go and take that listing. So that's the pre-listing package. Any questions out there?
Very informative.
Again, remember, you're trying to handle objections before you go to close the sale, and if you can get your sellers thinking about that and your competition hasn't got them thinking about these things, then you're a step above, and I take this, we're professionals here, and we should be giving a good product out there, and we need to advise. We're not just a company that takes a listing, throws it on, hopes somebody from multiple listings sees it and sells it. We spend money in advertising, we spend money on the internet. The properties are out there in a sort of amount of different areas, and it's important to do. And again, separate yourself from the average. because there's a lot of average out there these days and a lot of below average out there these days. So
Randy, do you take anything else and include in that package, like a couple of comps or tax records, or is this?
no, I give I want them to focus on what they need to do to get their property ready for sale, and I want them to focus on price. So I don't hit tax records. Typically, it's gonna have, my bio in it. And so I highly suggest you have your bio about you. But remember, when you write those bios, and Haley is great at reviewing that stuff with you. So we've got a great team to review that. But remember, it's not about you, your bio. It's about what you can do for them. And if you can get your head thinking that way, that it's about them, you will list more properties and sell more properties. And that's the object.
Hey, Randy. I hear that some agents send a pre-listing package before they go on their listing appointment.
True.
What do you think about that?
That's one way to do it. I like to let them, just because of who I am, I like them to think what I'm carrying around that clearly is, I'm not writing notes in or anything. I like them to think about what I have, because I want to really make sure that they read it.
I understand that, yeah.
Now, if you were going for expired listings or doing a mail out program on expired listings, then I might think of doing a mail out program with some stuff like this, inventory, so that you can get an appointment. But if I've already got an appointment, I'm really pushing that before I come back, that you review what I have in here for you. Can you do that for me?
Makes good sense. Thank you.
I'm that's how I think. But again, then I'm one that wants that conversation. Have I sold homes and lots and stuff like that with never meeting the client? Yeah, I just did one last year in Sebastopol. He lives in Sebastopol. We never met. We've done everything, via phone, and he got referred to me, and we did it. But in most cases, our strength is being with that consumer.
Well, that's the optimal position to be in, to actually get that appointment.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Bill, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, this stuff is contained in our Barry's CMA. Is that on the CMA?
This is, you talk to Haley, and then they just print it out. So our front desk.
Okay, so they've got all that.
They've got all this. This is something that we've designed. Now, some of the stuff that we've designed here, actually, some of the stuff Haley has designed has actually gone national level. So our national marketing team has actually liked stuff that the Wine Country Group has produced and has added those things to their portfolio. But it's so we have a lot of interaction with, if somebody's got something throughout the nation that's better than somebody else, we're really good about trading that. That's one of the things I love about this brand, is there's a lot of interaction with us owners in that. And it's kind of cool.
Yeah, and you can just ask Kaylee, and you can also send her your bio, what you'd like included. She can add it to it, and then you can just have a package to print up if you know.
Yeah, she can basically just email us the PDFs.
Yep.
Yeah. And then of course these binder, the binder tools are in every office exactly the same. So we've done that. And you can be in Lake County and go into one of the offices and all the same equipment's there. So we make it really easy for you to be, again, your key fits all the offices. So we just try to make it really easy for you to be able to be anywhere. You can have dinner at the Tides and go, oh crap, I forgot to do something, and walk across the street and put one of these together. So that's our goal.
Yeah, I always have a few created already sitting in my office, so that, because people are impatient. So if somebody calls and, I can just grab it and go do that initial appointment.
Sebastopol, we've actually got some made. We haven't done that at the other offices, but we probably will. The thing is that the ones that we have at the offices don't have your bio or anything in them.
Yeah.
So that makes a little bit of a difference.
So you're holding off on the price with them, with this tactic.
With this tactic, I'm trying to get them to think about price. Again, even in a hot market, you see those properties. When 50% of the properties are going over asking at one time here in the last 2 years, and you're seeing that group of properties, about 25% of them sitting for any length of time, it's told you that the market value is not there. And the challenge is, and I have to say, we've all what I call buying the listing, is that, I didn't want Susie down the street to get this listing. She seems to be willing to take it at this price. I'm not. And then you're going, how much did I spend on a property? I lost the listing on Barty. Is that where it is? Out
Up in Valley Road.
up Bennett Valley Road on the hill, on the ridge to Sotheby's with Craig Sykes and who's the guy that owns this one over here? I can't believe Doug Swanson. And but I actually refused to take it at what they were willing to take it at. And they had it for 9 months, and it was prior to the fire. And they took it, in my opinion, 50,000 too high. It wasn't going to sell. It didn't sell. When it expired, right before it expired, she called me and asked me to go up. Now the fire had happened, so everything had burned. How this property got spared, I will never know. But it burned around the property, burned her nephew's truck, burned the house next door and the garage next door. And I said, okay, will you do it with what I recommend in price? She did. We sold it in 30 days. They had it for 9 months. We're only $50,000 difference in price, but it ended up going for $1,750,000. The point was, I knew it was going to be too high. It would sit. They had it without the fire and couldn't sell it. I had it after the fire and it sold in 30 days because we priced it right in the beginning. And again, you're seeing price reductions in that. You don't want to follow the market down. The graphs in here in the listing presentation are really correct, that if you price the property correctly, it's going to sell for that price or more. Now, the other thing that I think that I'll add, besides Haley and I are going to work on different graphics to make it more visual, the report, and maybe not as much writing. But the other thing is that our revitalized loan, which Better Homes and Gardens offers a revitalized loan. So we will lend that consumer monies to be able to fix their home up. So it's equal to whatever your commission is. It's not taking your commission away. But let's say it's a $20,000 commission. They'll lend up to $20,000 because Dotdash owns Angie's List, now Angie, I think. They will actually hire the people and do the work. That could be a kitchen remodel, that could be improving the bathrooms, could be doing the pest control stuff. But we will lend them the money and get reimbursed at the close of escrow. That's a real valuable tool with some people that might not have the money to do those sometimes really minor things, get you a ton of money, and so we'll add that to that. We don't want to make this too big, but we want that consumer to see the flash points of the value of being with Better Homes and Gardens. Okay.
So what do you do at the listing presentation?
Well, most of the time, take the listing.
All right.
I thought I would show you guys some fun stuff from my career. This is how, and Barbara.
Yes.
Barbara had the privilege of working with this young twerp that came to work for Polly and Madsen many years ago. She also had the privilege when I got suspended from school that she worked the front desk. So we go back at.
Because I worked at his high school when he was a student. Oh my God. Yeah.
And she's younger than me. It's amazing. So
Randy, I remember when you were new too, and your mom was mom was so proud of you. And when you became the manager of PP&M, oh yeah.
Yeah, those were days. Those were days. So I thought I would just go down memory lane. 1994 being top producer At the, Bill worked with me there.
You got a
and
great
so,
mustache back.
yeah, a different looking guy there.
Corn stash.
I got told that numerous times.
Bill, I was just gonna say that.
That, and then that's the Jack Warner group that Barbara and Bill and I worked at. Doug DeFava, Logan Adams was there, Julie Hunter was there.
Yeah.
So I felt
Great
pretty
job.
good about being number one there with the competition that I was with. But it just brings back memories. Different listings. This is my first big listing on Laguna Road. I literally listed that. Sold that, listed their property, sold their property, and listed one more property. And Dave Matson and Harry Pauley could not believe that I did 5 transactions in one. And I was at a 50-50 split, which you could never hire an agent in a 50-50 split. But even back then, as I will tell you now, I spent money to have somebody go take my pictures and do the flyers. And I had only been in the business, that was my first year. So it never made sense that I was trying to be cheap and have one, it would have taken me 2 weeks to do it because I would have been procrastinating and stuff. So I found out really soon, hire people to do things that are a waste of your time.
What can you point out that to the new agents, that's not how we do our flyers?
That's not how we do our flyers anymore. Yes. But Dale Carnegie and all that. Different things that were in there, different organizations that I involved. My old ads, I had a fairly RJB Realty, which I have Polly Batson. One of my cover listings, I did a lot of new construction, so I had my picture and
You should pass that around. So
yeah.
Get close.
RJB did the first night shot actually in Sonoma County. So I talked to my photographer at Homes and Land magazine when they used to go out and take our photos for us. I said, this property is no longer there. It burnt down, of course, in the fire in 2017. But I said, this place out the back, looking down at the city of Santa Rosa is amazing. Can you do a night shot for me? So they did the night shot. So I can claim that was the first night shot. So these are the old flyers that we used to do.
Price?
Yeah, the prices, the prices are the crack up all Fountain Grove houses. So just kind of trying to show you how things have changed in real estate, what we've done and where we've gone. But I was never afraid, and Barbara, you can attest to that, I was never afraid to spend money on marketing myself and marketing my customers' listing. I remember going to Doug DeFava's wedding when he married Susan, and the lady came up to me, she goes, God, it's like I'm all around all these movie stars. You guys are in every real estate publication at all. And Doug's nickname for me was the real estate squirt because I was the young guy that was doing all this stuff, but it got my name out there. And you got to spend money to make money. You have to remember in this business, you're an independent contractor. We give you an incredible amount of tools with this company. And I would put the tools that we give you against any other company out there. You got to use them. 2, you can't be a secret agent. I loved PJ the other day. What's a secret agent? And it was like an agent that walks around and doesn't tell anybody they're a real estate agent. You got to say who you are and what you do and be proud of that. I'm still Mr. Real Estate at Starbucks in Sebastopol, and I haven't gone in like I used to, but before it moved, people would wait for me because they needed a carpenter, they needed a deal on carpet, they wanted to have a painter, they wanted to refinance their house. It was never about me selling them something. It was about being a beacon for them to come to and to say, here's people in the trades, here's things that you can do. So that's what you want to be. You create conversations if you're in line in Safeway, if you're walking down the street. I had a guy call me that, texted me and wanted me to meet at his property. And he goes, I'm the guy you talked to at Starbucks. I had no clue who he was until I got to the house, you know, and I was getting stuck on that one too, you know, but I ended up with the listing because I was familiar, you know.
And personable.
And personable.
Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta say hi, you know, you gotta start the real estate conversation. And I don't care where you are, tell me that you can't start a real estate conversation somewhere. You know, people want to know about real estate. It's, you know, we already have one step on a lot of salespeople, you know, is they want information. Okay. So again, a lot of the same things are in here. That's why you have to, if you use a listing presentation, and sometimes we're in the pre-listing portion, and after the client meets with you, they might want to. You should always do trial closes. Everybody know what a trial close is? Trial close is where you ask for the business. And one of those things when you're in the pre-listing, how soon do you think you want to get your house on the market? If you're feeling the vibe is going in a direction that they feel that there's a connection there, you know, how soon do you want to get your property on the market? You know, Randy, I'd really like to get going next week. And then I would go, you know, you think you can get those things done that we walked around and kind of discussed today, done within that time frame? Oh, I not need more time. Do you need people to do this for you? And if I get them to say yes, then I know, and I said, well, let me get my painter over here. Let's get this scheduled as quickly as possible. And let's determine price. We'll do some comps and we'll get the price for you. And I'll send over the listing. How does that sound? So that's going for the close, but the trial close is just asking questions to create a situation where they're answering the right direction. You know, Abel, you probably get that. You know, when you can close a person on a phone, you know, you get that feeling that, yeah, you want me to get that for you now? You know, you have to get that feel and ask them to do it. So again, we're doing this. Always remember, between the pre-listing and the listing presentation, that you're building value. You're separating yourselves from the discount brokers out there. You're separating yourself of what your value proposition. Commission is based on the value proposition that you have shown that consumer. Some consumers feel, I'm going to sell my house no matter what, you know, so do I even need you? You have to show value and you have to believe in what you do. So the listing presentation, again, you know, we're talking about comparable properties. It's really important. And I'm not one that's ever felt overly comfortable just coming up with a price on comps. A lot of times I still have to drive by and just, again, see what it sold. If there's one that feels abnormal, like it went just for an insane price, because you know your seller knows about that one that went for that insane price. You have to know that,
Hello.
oh, by the way, did you know that they had a hot tub, they built a huge cement patio, they've done this and this to your home. You've got to be able to compare those comparable sales if they ask you the question. So minimum, you've got to read all the remarks and stuff so that you're prepared. Look through the photos. I still think it's a good idea to drive by before you do your final presentation so that you know it, because they do know those houses. Don't kid yourself that they don't. Factors that don't affect the sale of a property. Now, I always love this because you experienced agents, how many have you gone into? Well, I got to get this. They have to get this price. They don't care what the comps say or anything, but this is what I have to get. And you have to control the narrative. You've got to guide them and talk about that, you know, hey, your price is worth what a buyer's willing to pay. And I always go to that statement of property is worth what a buyer is willing to pay and no more. You've got to get that in their head. So on this page, we do factors that don't affect market value. The price that you originally paid for the property, the profit or returns that you expect to receive, we've highlighted that one, from the sale of your property, the amount of cash you need for your sale, the amount of cash you have invested in improvements on your property, the tax assessed value of your home, what other sources have told you your property is worth, including friends, appraisers, other real estate professions, and online valuations.
Randy, is this a different document than you gave us?
Yeah. This one I didn't make copies of, but Haley and Max can send you all this.
And what it's
So this is,
called?
this is a listing presentation.
Listing
Or
presentation.
seller, I think the front of it says seller,
It's home seller's guide.
home seller's guide, yeah.
Yeah. So it goes through in here, recently sold properties, pending sales, active listings. Now, the challenge with pending sales, sometimes, and it's always good to call the listing agent again. They might not give you the price, but can you go, hey, did it go for full? Can you give me an idea? Did it go over asking? Did it go under asking? Ask questions. Like Heather said earlier, pry.
Yeah.
You know?
Close.
Yeah, just try to get some information because those pending sales can be very important to the sale of property. Again, we're back at value, market value pricing, a property that is competitively priced, and again, graphed. For some of you that don't want to do a pre-listing and you've already seen the house or know the house and done your comps, and you're trying to just go for the listing. Like I said, most things I do are 2 parts. Selling your home, the listing process. Again, what we're trying to do here with you, if you're sitting down, like what I used to do with this is I sat down with a consumer and I would go page for page. And what this means to you is that I'm getting your property out to all these other sites by what I spend with Homes and Land. Listing process, market evaluation and research, understand your needs and motivations. That is one of the most important questions you should actually be asking here. What is your motivation? Where do you want to go? Are you moving out of area? If they said yes, do you have an agent in that area? Why do we ask that?
Oh, I forget to ask that question.
A referral fee is the easiest money you'll ever make because you're going to either call me or go through our reload. A lot of agents call me and we find an agent in another area, another state, and then you're going to get a referral fee for just giving that name. So that's part of the motivation. Examine the marketing and the sales plan. We need to show them, and again, we need to show value, not only as you as an individual and how hard you're going to work for them, but what the company does automatically with our marketing plans. Select a real estate professional, review competitive market analysis, establish the initial asking price, prepare the home for sale. Again, remember, this is to handle the objection when you're there to try to take the listing. Selling process. We have the initial consultation, home preparation, implement marketing plan, review offers, reach an agreement with the buyer, complete settlement process. All this stuff, when you're making your presentation, is again, you're showing value to why they've hired you, that you're not pushing them. We just, Parmita and I just got a client that switched to us from another agency that they worked for years. And we were selling, I think, their 3rd home for them right now. And what they said when an agent tried to renegotiate price, it came back to the person that referred them to me, was that their other agent would have never fought that hard to say, no, we're not going to just take a price reduction. They went back and said, no, you're not going to do this. We're going to get you more than they're trying to get this house for. The problem with the situation is we really would have had to go into mediation or arbitration to settle it. They had no contingencies on their offer and then tried to renegotiate the price. Tried to back out and we said, hey, keep your deposit. But we ended up coming to an agreement. The issue is we fought for them because that's what they hired us for. It wasn't about us pushing them to accept this ridiculous thing that this other agent was trying to do. It was they hired us to get them the highest and best price and to handle their contract with them. That's what we do. It can't always be about your pocketbook. Matter of fact, I never know what I'm getting paid in a deal. I don't know until the day I get my check. Now and then I half the time don't look at what Ashley pisses her off. I don't look at the split. I go, is it right? You know, and I'll write that because I don't want to ever focus on money. I want to focus on the consumer and what we do for them. The selling process, then negotiating the sale, you know, and this is what's good about this section here is what we're talking about commission. And one of the old lines that I use, you know, if I can't negotiate my own commission, what makes you think I can negotiate the sale of your property? Right? I mean, you know, you want to talk commission here. This is what I work for. You hired me for this reason. And, you know, this is what I work for. And so you need to negotiate your commission and then show them that you're worth that extra percentage. I had a deal that still really bugs me this last year. I had 2 engineers who typically are my most difficult. Give me an attorney any day. Give me an engineer when, you know, I'm the guy that chases the shiny keys, you know, and they make me crazy. So I had a NASA engineer, he was an engineer from the European Space Agency. And they interviewed Compass, Coldwell Banker, Sotheby's, and me. And they were all willing to cut their commission down to 4%. I was not willing to do that. And I stopped talking to them. And they were on the phone again. Randy, but they're going to do that. And, you know, came over to the house, you know, and, you know, we're going back and forth. One of our Sebastopol agents was working with me on that. And, you know, so he said, all right, we want to use you. And I said, I decided to reduce. I can't tell you how I regretted that. I did it for 0.5% more than the other companies were willing to, but I added a clause that in the event that I got them over this price, then it would be a 5% commission. It's not typical in the 2 to 3 million range that you're doing 5% commissions. So I had him sign that. So at least I felt respect. Well, it didn't go over, but we did it. But you know, everybody, anytime you negotiate or you do something like that, they keep wanting more. And he just wouldn't let up. You know, I ended up negotiating that the other agent that brought the offer in had to write him a check for $650 for part of the floor because I said, I'm not doing it. And I said, if you want to close the deal, he'll kill this deal over $650. She wrote the check. So, no, but I wasn't going to. Transaction management.
Is there somebody else? Did you have a question online?
Is there a question?
Oh, okay.
No. Transaction management. Can't tell you how valuable this is. And as far as I know, the first transaction coordinator in Sonoma County.
Colton is on 130.
You know, so Barbara, our company, the Jack Warner Group, happened to go, hey, let's have somebody help the agents keep their paperwork together. Did I love working with you?
Oh my God, I love working with you. I love working with everybody.
It was so awesome to do that. And we were the only
Colton?
company that had that. And I was like,
He's on a conference call right now. Do you want to leave him a message?
no, I'm not on a conference call.
I'll have him give you a call once he's off, okay? Okay, you're welcome. Bye.
There we go.
Maureen. So transaction management, basically a transaction management is you still are responsible to do what an agent needs to do, but you turn it over to our transaction management team and they handle making sure that documents are getting signed. They handle the storage of your documents. They handle you sending any text communication. Remember, text communication, email should all be in a company file because if you go to mediation or arbitration, they will ask now for discussions that were on text and that. So you print it, you can forward it in an email form and that, and then we put it in the files because there are things that happen on that. Be careful what you do on social media. You don't do things like say, hey, my client will take this amount. There was a really nice lawsuit that an agent talked to another agent and the friend of the seller happened to see that she said, oh, my client will take this. And they got an accepted offer closed out and then found out on Facebook that their agent wasn't necessarily representing them and sold it for less than they probably could have gotten. So having this, and again, explain it because it's part of your value proposition is that we have a professionals that make sure that your documentation is all taken and is part of your file. And at the end of your file, if you would like those copies, we could make that for you and put it on a scan disk. You know, so another thing, again, it's important to build up.
And we should be keeping up paper files, right?
And we shouldn't be keeping paper files. Yes. Online marketing. Again, you can see as far as online marketing, we're everywhere. You know, we're just simply everywhere. And that's important because they believe that. Interesting, in the last 2 weeks, online hits have dropped. And I have a theory that might be different than other people's theories. I believe it's because people now that are getting out and now that we're seeing open houses and stuff, people want to go out and meet you. You know, PJ hit it the other day in regards to going into the Petaluma office going, this is money sitting here. This is money being open and watching these people walk back and forth and there's nobody here to try to pick up those buyers or sellers that are walking by our front windows. We have incredible locations here at Better Homes and Gardens, and we don't always have them manned on the weekends and stuff. So that's an important thing. I believe it's dropped because people are now going to the open houses. I think Parmita had people at an open house that were on Saturday that were waiting to get in. Well, she called me at 2 o'clock whining she couldn't eat her breakfast sandwich. I haven't had my breakfast sandwich. And I go, that's why you eat it in the car before you go, right? Right? What's a car for?
You need a Tesla.
And then it's important that people know where the buyer's coming from. And, you know, 78% internet realtor, 7% yard signs, 7% family, friends in the neighborhood, 5% builder or their agent, 3% directly from sellers, 1% other. That jumps around a little bit. We're having great success. Better Homes and Gardens has a text BHG now, and those texts really, really work. So on our signs that have text BHG, the consumer will go to that sign, text it, and be able to get your contact information. You're going to get their contact information to be able to get a hold of them and work. It is a great, great product, and it will increase your sales immensely. And then, of course, 200 million consumers. So we're going back in again. And that's why at the listing presentation, the thought of being able to bring a magazine. But remember, any of this that you have to turn it into what does it mean to them? You cannot forget that. What does it mean to them? Not about you, to them. And what it means to them is more buyers are traveling this site than any other company. Is that important to you? So if they're looking for a home online and they're somehow connected to all this, which of course, Google spreads it out even more, that will help hopefully get you more at bats at trying to sell your house. And then the other stuff, you know, your home, you know, we do ads at Homes and Land Magazine, property mailers, custom marketing pieces. Of course, by having an actual in-house marketing team, we can customize the marketing that they want at any level and who we are. There's a thing here about the Wine Country Group. And again, we can email all the packages. You guys just need to email us if you want. So this gives a breakdown of the Wine Country Group. We have 12 locations now. We're in 5 counties. So we're in Sonoma, Napa, Mendocino, Lake, and Humboldt counties. What does that mean to them is there's a lot of people, I can't believe how many referrals we're actually sending back and forth. You know, we're getting referrals from each other instead of having third parties sell them to us like Zillow or Redfin or, you know, assorted amount of different things. And all the brands, magazines that help bring consumers to their listings. Giving back. You know, I do a lot of community things. So, you know, in Sebastopol and stuff. So I list those things. We do a lot of different community things where we help different, obviously we can't help everybody here. We have to also make money in real estate, but we do try to support different organizations. And a lot of our agents support different organizations. You know, we've got Amy Ray in Ukiah that donates money. We have Liz Uribe that's donated and helped the living room unbelievably. Besides, you know, she sold homes for them, and there's a lot of programs that we help and benefit. And who knows Paige? Who can say the Paige?
Passion, authenticity.
Integrity.
Passion, authenticity, inclusion, growth, and excellence. And I can tell you, Sherry, Chris, our CEO, believes this, lives this, and pretty awesome woman. And then just after the sale.
It'd be nice to add to this portion the BHG RE Moves. There's
Yeah.
a pretty new program, if you guys don't know about yet, BHG RE Moves, where there's a concierge that will actually help your buyers and sellers set up all of their and transfer all of their utilities. So they just have to give them the info and they make the calls. They found that people were spending about 7 hours on the phone setting up and transferring their utilities. So that's something as well that we can, that we offer.
Yeah, we
So
definitely
we
need to
put
add
this in
that.
here,
And they want to do it for us. And it's so funny, the things that agents are hesitant on doing. It's a statistical fact that if you use a CRM, you can increase your business from 20 to 40%, your existing business. And it's, you know, the thoughts of different things we can do, like doing the text and not having that on your sign. All those things will increase your business. Showing up, you know, just showing up. Come to the offices. If somebody's not here, take a sign, throw it outside. Worst case scenario, you might have to talk to somebody that might want to buy or sell property. So that's got to be a bad thing, right? You know, how many people are sitting there and go, oh my God, I hope they don't walk in. I hope they don't walk in. I might have to talk to them. I might have to get out of my chair. So it happens. You got to just get over it. And you got to say hi. The most successful people on floor, I feel, are the people that actually print out what listings in the town that they're in, attach their card. And when they see somebody at the window, go introduce yourself. Go, hey, I saw you looking at the window. I wanted to give you a list of properties available in Petaluma. Would that be of value to you? That's all you have to say, you know? And if they start asking, then you ask them simple questions. Get the dialogue going. So, but go to the window, walk outside, hand them. If they don't want it, well, that's fine. You know, save it for the next person. I guarantee probably 50% of those people that walk up to the window will walk away with your business card and what's available in that city. Again, don't be a secret agent. You know, announce, here I am, and I can help you. Any questions? Kathy, were you going to ask a question?
I am. So I'm super new in, you know, the tech part of it, right? So who do I talk to? I've got to get on your platform. You know, when I'm taking a listing, I know that there's DocuSign. One of my fellow realtors said, well, you just slide like the prelim in the DocuSign, the outside stuff. Are we for the listing through MLS? Am I using their signature forms for that?
A lot of people use DocuSign, but again, the transaction coordinators can help you with that. Because if you're talking about listing documents and stuff like that, you're going to be handing that over to the transaction coordinator, and they will help guide you through getting your DocuSigns and that out. So on listings and sales, that Katie is the head of transaction coordinating. They'll help guide you with that. And of course, people at the front desk will help you.
So like for a listing right now, what do I first send them? Do I start sending them stuff to like look at, like blank agency forms, blank purchase contracts?
Yeah, are you talking about if you're going for a listing or anything
No,
like
I've
that?
already got one that wants to list.
Well, that's a
So-
good problem to have, just so you know, Kathy. I know you've been a lender for a long time, but if they say, I want to list a house with me, that's a good thing.
I know, So do you send a transfer disclosure for them to do? Do you, when you send the listing forms, do you send it through the MLS signature thing, through zip forms?
Yeah. You would.
So, if you're gonna send a document, the easiest way for signature is to go through the CAR zip forms.
Yep.
Access your documents there. You can send them for signature right through there.
Okay,
I
so
would-
their signature, not the DocuSign, but their signature thing. Yes?
You can access DocuSign right through zip forms.
Oh, okay.
They have their own, and you can also use DocuSign. You have the two options. 2 weeks ago, I did a class on zip forms and that covers that. I'm not sure if it's in YouTube or not, but.
Which
I
one?
can
Which
always
zip
help you.
form class? Because I was supposed to take one today, but I'm in here instead.
Uh-huh. Well,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
gave one a couple of weeks ago, but
Oh.
they do have great classes there. I highly recommend that you sit with your seller to sign the listing agreement because it'll give you a good opportunity to go over all of the important points and talk to them about everything. I typically don't ask them to fill out the TDS and the SPQ and everything at the same time because it's just too much. It's a
Right.
lot. So
Right.
I do the listing one day and then I do disclosures a different time. And then
You do paper ones where they fill it out on paper and then sign a paper?
Yes. So
I do.
I'm gonna throw in real quick here on transfer disclosure statements.
Oh.
I'm one that brings that to the client and I tell them that I cannot fill it out. What I want them to do is I want them to think of themselves as a buyer. And I go, there's things that you've probably lived here. If you've lived here 20 years, there's things that you overlook because you live here, you get used to it, you forget about it. I want you to now look at your house as a buyer and what would be important to you. And that might be a crack in the paint on the side wall or crack in the sheetrock or crack in cement. I want you to take your time. Remember, the transfer disclosure statement is the best of your knowledge and fill it out. If you have questions, you can ask me, but it's really your form to fill out. So please take your time and do that for me. So that's my way. There's other things, but I am really gun shy. I mean, we just had a mediation that Remax paid our client 12 grand. And it came up when their client also got into the mediation with our client that the agent helped her fill it out because something was funky about it that I saw. They changed the document after we already removed our contingencies. And the changed document had the different writing on it. And so they ended up paying our client because, to me, that was a DRE violation, but it was up to my client to go that direction. Don't freaking fill them out. And clients will try to get you to fill them out. Do not.
Hey,
Hand it to 'em, make 'em work on it.
Randy, 1984, I was Rookie of the Year, and there was no such thing as a transfer disclosure statement.
I remember those days.
So Merrill Lynch wrote up their own, typed one
Yeah.
up, and I went to the house and I filled it out myself for the client. And they said they had a new well, but really they only had a new pump, but it was an old rock lined well in Sonoma. And the septic system was a box, right? Those old,
Yeah.
and it leached into the well. So the whole family ended up with E. coli in the hospital.
Oh my God.
Oh, we love those old stories from the crypt.
Yeah. So no, I will never fill out a transfer disclosure
you.
statement.
Thank you.
And Kathleen, there is, for the TDS and the SPQ specifically, if you have a really tech savvy client that doesn't, for me, I often sit down as they're filling it out, but if they're tech savvy, there's a great program called Glide where you can send it to them and it's just a bunch of questions and then it fills it out it fills in the blanks with their answers.
Wow.
So that's a really nice,
Cool.
just depending.
Yeah.
But like the listing agreement, I like to sit down and do it paper so that we cover all those points. So just kind of depends.
And see, I'm the one that will not sit with them and go over it because I want complete separation. from me in the transfer disclosure statement. So
You just give it to them.
I give it to them and say, you need to really sit down, think about your answers and fill this out completely. So I'm one that tends to be
No, I think I'm a
more
little more
overkill
like
than
Randy.
people think on that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we could send them the form, it sounds like, to fill out. Okay, okay,
Yeah.
I'll learn.
I feel there's no disclosure that's given up front that stops a buyer from buying a property.
It's the honeymoon stage. It's the honeymoon
right.
stage.
Give it to them up front,
Yep,
give it to them while they're feeling good
yep,
and be
yep.
done with
Don't
it.
wait till the end or they wonder what else you didn't tell them.
Exactly. Other questions?
Well, we're at time, so I want to respect everyone's time. If anybody does need to take off or what have you, thank you for coming. But yeah, Randy's here for any questions. And yeah, go for it. I just wanted to, I don't like to run things over and too much.
Sorry,
And
guys.
Who should I
It's time
talk
out.
to? Who should I talk to help with how you like to do the listings?
There's a couple different things. You know, again, we have a mentor program that some people are jumping into to have a mentor help them with their first 3 transactions. You can talk to Katie, the head transaction coordinator, about any form questions and that. I encourage, again, Kathy, you joined with me with COVID and that, so we haven't talked. But you can also go on our YouTube channel. Heather's done a terrific job of, we have a lot of trainings from Gary and Heather and other people. So go back to the YouTube channel. Who would you get that from? I guess right now, Haley.
Yeah.
Haley, get on the YouTube channel and start hitting the different trainings. We
I
pretty
just
much
need to do-
recorded all of our trainings.
I need to do 1 listing and 1 purchase.
Yeah. Yes,
Yep.
then you'll be fine. Even though our forms are a little different than they were in my case, 86.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, that 2-page document where we scribbled and then, and tell me we weren't practicing law back then.
Oh
I
my
mean, we wrote
God.
our own stuff.
Well, I was a legal secretary through college and my lawyer, the lawyers that I worked with said, Kathy, don't write in legalese. Just write like a person describing exactly what you want. You
Yeah.
don't want to be practicing law.
That's right. That's right.
So anyway,
Great.
okay.
Hey, want to thank everybody for being here today. I hope you got something of value out of it. Again, if you have questions, feel free to text or call me. If you email me, you're going to be getting a response probably 10 or 11 at night. So just know
He's
that.
not kidding.
Might be midnight
So text or call.
or 2. Text or call me. You want to email my partner. His computer is part of his brain, so he just answers by thinking. So, yeah,
All right. Thank you
great.
guys.
Thank you.
Kathleen, I'm happy to answer questions too if you have any.
And that's
come up.
Heather, right?
Heather, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thanks. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye. The new world.